Alrighty, we're in. Alrighty, so welcome everybody. We are about to start my favorite festival of the year, the festival of Pesach, and there's something very beautiful about Pesach, and that is, of course, we all do Pesach, but quite often we get stuck trying to, especially for those of us who are running the Seder, with the question of how do I make the Seder meaningful for the people that are at the table. So first of all, the Haggadah itself gives us an amazingly powerful insight in terms of how to approach the night. The night of the Seder is a night of education, and it's also a night of transmission. And we are transmitting the story that's been told for over 3,300 years. I'd like to start this video or this presentation with a story that happened that really encapsulated what Pesach the Seder is all about. When you're sitting at your Pesach Seder, you're actually sitting in what I would call a time machine. And at the night of Pesach, you're going to be flying through this time machine, going to the past when the original Pesach took place. We'll be sitting with our great grandparents on that fateful night of the 15th of Nisan, in the Hebrew year of 2448, as they sat there with the blood on the door, eating their matzah with their paschal lamb, and getting ready to leave Egypt. We're sitting with our ancestors at the Pesach Seder in the days of the temple, when over a million Jews would gather in Jerusalem to celebrate the Pesach. We are sitting with our great grandparents in Spain, in Portugal, in Iraq, in Poland, in Russia, but we're also sitting with our great grandchildren, maybe in Yerushalayim. So the Pesach night is one in which we are linking ourselves to the what is called the covenantal community, the Masorah community. And I never really appreciated what that looked like until I was having a Seder with was sitting with my cousin at a Seder. And there we were at the head of the table, as you are as the adults. And we had my kids, and his kids were much younger than they are now. And I remember holding up the matzah, and I said to them, I said, I want to share with you a story that my cousin and I, heard from our grandparents when we were your age. My grandfather, our mutual grandfather from England, his grandfather from Russia, my grandfather from Germany. And the story that we're going to tell you tonight, and the songs we're going to sing with you tonight, are the songs that we heard when we were children from them, who told us that these were the songs that they had heard and sung when they were children, sitting at their grandparents' Seder all those years ago. And at that moment, it suddenly dawned on me that you're sitting at a Pesach Seder. You're not just sitting in 2025. You're linking yourself with all the generations. And the Seder night is this magical night where we are able, through this guidance of the Haggadah, we are able to jump in, immerse ourselves into this incredible experience with our family and with our friends. And so the first point to make regarding the Pesach Seder is as follows. What is, and this is a question I ask myself every Pesach, is what is the message that I want to give over to my children this year? What do I want the people at the Seder, the participants at the Seder, to go home with at the end of the night? It's my wife's job to make sure that they go home filled physically. It's my job to make sure that they go home filled spiritually and connect and have a deeper connection to their Judaism and to what it means to be Jewish than they did when they walked in and sat down at the meal. And the Haggadah even gives us a methodology of how to approach this. Right at the beginning, we have the famous story of the four sons, the four children, the wise, the wicked, the simple, and the one that does not know how to ask. And the Torah, this is based on 4 times in the Torah where it describes the child asking the parent to explain to them what is going on at this Pesach Seder. And the fact that the Torah gives us 4 different approaches tells us that we actually have to look around the table, and as a master teacher, we have to say, who's in front of me? What do they need? This child is very smart, wants to learn every single thing. So how am I going to inspire them? This child says, what's going on? I don't understand. Explain to me. How do I explain it in a simple way? This child says, I know what I'm doing here. Like, what is this all about? 3,000 years, we're doing the same thing. This is ridiculous. So the answer that I'm going to give to him is got to be very different from the wise son or the simple son. And the one that does not know how to ask, well, I've always raised this question as to how old is this child who does not know how to ask? Because if you've ever spent time at a preschool with a 3-year-old, you'll see that they don't stop asking questions. Why? What? Who? Why? Whereas an adult doesn't know how to answer questions anymore, doesn't care. So the She'eino L'Dei Shol means they've lost the ability to even ask the question. So now I need to find a way to extract a response from them. And so when I sit down at the Seder and I think about who's at the Seder, and in particular I think about my kids, and I go, what message do I want each of them to take with them? That is the primacy. And the reality is that your Pesach Seder is going to change every year. It's not going to. You can't say. Yeah, I don't believe that you can sit at the Seder and just open up the book of your Haggadah and let's start on page 1. You have if the person who's running the Seder needs to invest time preparing and looking for ideas. Now what we're going to do tonight is look at some of the ideas in which to enhance your Seder. Some of these ideas are ones that I've employed successfully. Some of them have worked less successfully, but let's dive in to try and look at the Seder. So one of the things about the Pesach Seder is that we assume that everybody knows what's happening at the Pesach Seder. Because if you ask people how many Seders have they gone to, most people say, we've been to multiple Seders. We know exactly what's going on. And I love that answer because that means you have no idea what is going on. It means it's like the adult who walks into shul with those little talises that they got when they were at their bris. And they say, look at me, look how cute. So when you were cute when you were 8 days old, but now you're an adult, you need to approach this night from a different perspective. So what do? The rabbis, in their wisdom, when they constructed the Haggadah and the Seder night in this experience, they were trying to do things that would pique the curiosity of the participants at the Seder. Of course, the primary one they want to try and interest is the child. But let's be honest, when we are all children. No matter how much gray or how many furrows there are in our brows, we are all children, and therefore the Seder must engage each and every one of us. So I brought with me exhibit number 1, the Pesach, the famous Pesach Seder plate. Now, what we normally do with a Pesach Seder plate is you just have the Seder plate, and you point to the different foods, and we eat the foods. But here's an interesting thought experiment that you can do, and I call it the freedom versus slavery game. And the question of the game is, of these foods, and then we got to include also the matzah, the salt water, and the wine. Of all the foods that are eaten at the Seder, which ones are freedom we eat them because of freedom? And which one do we eat because of slavery? So I'm just going to turn the camera around for a second, because I did this last night with my bar mitzvah boys. And as you can see, we did a chart, and I had there the charoset, the shankpa, the maror. Yeah, are they happy or are they sad? And most of the kids were pretty sure that they knew exactly what was there. Interesting enough, they felt that the egg, you eat the egg because for happy reasons, birth, etc. Charoset, because it was sweet, they thought it was. 5 out of the 8 felt it was a happy food, and that's just and maror 0 out of 8 felt that it was happy. All of them felt it was sad. So that's the easy part of the game. And what you can even do if you're really organized is you can actually make a little chart and cut up and have at everyone's table a picture of the charoset, a picture of the maror, a picture thing. Have a little chart, and then you ask everyone at the table, "Come, where do you think you should put the food, happy or sad?" And spoiler alert, I'm not going to give you the answers to all this, but I'll let you do your own research. Each one of the things that are on the Seder plates are both happy and sad, are both expressions of freedom and expressions of slavery. Now, how does that work? That you'll have to come back. We'll have to do another talk exactly. But it becomes a very interesting and wonderful discussion around your Seder table as to which of these are happy and which of them are sad. Just to give you one example, the egg, happy or sad. Well, an egg is eaten in a house of mourning. It is a symbol of sadness. When we eat the egg, dip the egg in salt water, which is a tradition that most people have, but interesting, is not found in Haggadahs. If you look in the Haggadah does not mention anything about eating an egg in salt water. The reason for the egg in salt water is that the egg is a symbol of mourning, the salt water, the tears, and it represents reminds us of the destruction of the temple, and that we aren't able to celebrate Pesach in its full form. Interesting enough, there's a calculation that says you can work out the dates of every single festival of the calendar year based on Pesach in what is called the Atbash system. Atbash means Aleph is number 1, and Tav is the last letter of the alphabet. The Aleph, the first day of Pesach, falls on the same day as the festival begins with the letter Tav, which is Tisha B'Av. Bet, Shin. Second day of Pesach will be the same day as Shavuot. Gimel is Reish, Rosh Hashanah, etc. So you can actually work out the entire calendar based on how Pesach is functioning. So the egg in salt water, what is it? Am I eating the eggs, a symbol of spring, of birth, of the symbol of the Jewish people? That when you throw an egg into salt water, I say if you boil an egg, it becomes hard and tough. When the Jewish people go through the tough times, that we become stronger. Think about the last year and a half, what has happened to us and our faith, right? That egg is a symbol of our freedom. On the other hand, it's a symbol of mourning because it's eaten in houses for the mourners, and a symbol of Tisha B'Av. So that's just one of the symbols, and each one we can play with them and find out reasons why they should be symbols of freedom and symbols of slavery. And to be honest, this is the
You done or?
Sorry.
Apologies, sorry, didn't realize I was on mute.
Okay, sorry. All right. If you have questions, put them in the chat, and then I will get to them at the end. To be honest, this is actually the interpretation of the Ma Nishtana. The word Ma Nishtana, and you look at Ma Nishtana, we always say it's fragen de vier kashas, the 4 questions. Ask the 4 questions. But if you actually read the Ma Nishtana, there are not 4 questions. So it says Ma Nishtana laila zeh mikol hailot. We translate it as, why this night different from all other nights? All the nights we eat chametz and matzah, tonight we eat bread. All other nights we have Yerakot. Tonight we just eat maror. All other nights we lean. Tonight we lean. All other nights we don't dip. Now we dip twice. We're not asking why we dip, why we eat maror, why we eat matzah. We're saying that these are 4 reasons why this night is different. So is Ma Nishtana 4 questions, or is it 1 question with four examples of Ma Nishtana, of how this night is different, or is Ma Nishtana actually not a question at all? Ma Rabu Masech Hashem, the word in that case, how wondrous are the actions of God. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov, says Bilam. How wondrous are the tents of Jacob. The word ma is an exclamation of wow, of wonderment. So the way you read the Ma Nishtana is in wonder. What an amazing Ma Nishtana! This night is so different from any other night. And then we'll chametz matzah, maror, etc. These are the child is highlighting all the differences. Now wants to know why. But in essence, the question of the Ma Nishtana is something different. And that is the child asking is, I don't understand, what is the purpose of this night? What are you trying, Dad? What are you trying to teach me? See, Ma Nishtana, I'm confused. On the one hand, you're telling me that I've got to eat matzah, and you read halach ma'anya, the bread of affliction. But later on, you're going to read in the Haggadah how matzah is a symbol of freedom. Ma Nishtana maror, and then which seems to be a language, the bitterness seems to be slavery. But then we talk about leaning and dipping like free men. So what is the focus, the slavery or the freedom? I'm confused. So this, so the whole night is this tension between what is the message. So the way I try to describe it, and this is what we do with the matzah, is that we're telling the story of how matzah, which was the symbolism of slavery, where right at the beginning we say halach ma'anya, we break the matzah, we break in little pieces, and we and the whole idea of yachatz, breaking the matzah, is what did slaves do? And if you need help, read the testimonies of the hostages who came out from Gaza, and we had to share a pita. They would break up the piece of pita and share it with one another, keeping the bigger piece back because they didn't know when the next meal was going to happen, when were they going to eat again. So you break up a little piece, halach ma'anya. So at the Seder, I'm breaking off the matzah. I'm showing you this is how we used to live in Egypt. We didn't know where our next meal was. We would break off the matzah, hide, and pack the rest away for later on because we didn't know when our next meal would come. And then as we're going through the Haggadah, we go to the same matzah becomes transformed from the symbol of our slavery to the famous reason that we all have for why we eat matzah, which is we didn't have time for the dough to rise because we were chucked out of Egypt so quickly. So even just reading the story, reading through the Haggadah and just listening to it, we see this tension, this flow of between the tension between slavery and freedom, and what is the highlight of what are we focusing on Pesach? So that's one game that I call the freedom versus slavery game. The next one that we've done over the years is plays, especially when you've got younger participants. And my responsibility when my kids were young was I have to try and engage them into the story. So dress ups. So we have dress ups at our Seder. I dress up as King Pharaoh. And when the kids were much younger, we'd bring out blocks of Lego, blocks of wood. And then while the 4-year-old, the 5-year-old, 6-year-old are busy, I told them, I want you to build the perimeter, build these the storehouses for me. And I would tell the story, and then we would sing the songs that they learned in preschool, me dressed up as King Pharaoh. And then when it came to the plagues, they would start punishing Pharaoh. So when it came to the plague of Barad, of hail, they were given white ping pong balls. They would pelt Pharaoh with the ping pong balls, and there was this great laughter. And then someone knock over a glass of wine, and wine get everywhere, and everyone was wine. But it just creates this memory for the little kids. And one of the classic stories that I do, and I'm happy to share this one with you to use at your Seders, is that the famous one, water into the water into blood scenario. When the plagues happened in Egypt, so for the Jew, the Midrash says that for the Jews it was water. For the Egyptians, when they tried to drink, it was blood. So I think Yoni at the time must have been like 4 years old, and I was dressed up as King Pharaoh. And what I did was I took a clear cup, and I put a bit of grape juice at the bottom of the cup, and I held the cup closed like this, so he couldn't see the grape juice at the bottom. And then I played him. I said to him, yeah, Mr. Jewish slave, come here. And he'd have come to me. And I say, I want you to, and I was telling him the story that when the Jews drink the water, it was water. When the Egyptians drank the water, it was blood. So Pharaoh was clever. He said, if I get a Jew to pour the water, it will remain water. And that's what I did. So I got him to pour the water, and he poured it in, and it's filling up the glass with the water. And as it's filling up, obviously, it goes red. And then I would think, see, and I was like, look, everybody, it's water. And I would start to drink, and he started screaming, no, Abbas, guys, no, it's blood, don't drink. And obviously his face was priceless. So it's a great little trick to play with the kids, the grandkids, or any youngster at the table. Again, the idea is that we're taking the story. I want to connect them with hook them with a memory that will last forever. So that's the idea of the plays, and you can have different plays. The one year we did something which didn't quite work because someone didn't quite understand the instructions, but Ori came up with this game where every person around the table had an instruction, but the instruction made absolutely no sense. So, for example, so basically it was this game. So at a certain point in the Seder, I would say a certain expression, a certain word. So let's say the word was Yaakov, Jacob. Jacob goes down to Egypt. So someone would have a little expression which says, when you hear the name Jacob, stand up and say, good day. And then the next person would have, when you hear someone say good day, you've got to clap your hands. And then the third person would have, when someone clap your hands, you go, woohoo. Someone went on like that. It's supposed to go around all 30 people. It's quite complicated. It's a complicated game to do. We tried it twice. The first time it didn't go. The second time it actually worked. And actually, it's almost like one of those, those machines where this hits that and this hits that, and all of a sudden it all comes together. That's a fun thing. Another thing you can do is to create dioramas at your Seder table. So, for example, to create an Exodus scene, like leaving Egypt, and you have like a blue runner for the sea, or two blue runners, and then a brown in the middle. You get like a Lego pieces or Playmobil, or and have them walking out of Egypt. Someone told me that they designed the entrance to their house. So as you walked into the house, it was they decorated with blue paper mache with fish. So you're walking through as if you're walking through the Red Sea. So there's lots of these activities that you can look at to try and make the evening that much more meaningful for the participants. Another that's number 4, the plays. Number 3. Number 4 is to look at every Haggadah. The people have different Haggadot they bring to the Seder. Personally, I suggest that you have one Haggadah that is the same for everybody. So then if people get lost, they go, okay, we're on page 22. Everyone can follow when they're on page 22. If I also make sure the rule is that the people at the Seder need to understand the story. So I will do the whole Haggadah in English because I need everyone to understand. Also to keep people involved in the Haggadah, you get everyone to read a paragraph. And then while they're reading the paragraphs, I will intersperse some little comments. If you have your own Haggadah, your favorite Haggadah, bring it along. And then, as we know, all Haggadot, many Haggadot have got pictures or stories, and you can tell everybody before they come to the Seder, I want you to bring to tell an idea, a story, a famous insight. And this again is preparing in this. We spend so much time preparing the house for Pesach, we forget to prepare for the Seder. All right, so give people jobs. They need to find out some information. Why we eat matzah? What is the dual nature of maror? What is the dual nature of charoset? Why do we eat what is that shank bone doing on the plate? Right? How many pieces of matzah do you have to eat? Is it when does 3 becomes 4? What does the word afikoman mean? There's so many questions that you can have that it can keep you that you can keep. You give everyone jobs to come up with answers to little questions, or they have to do some research before they come to the Seder. Then another thing you can do, and I've done this a few times, is look at the pictures. All right? I wouldn't do this while we're reading the Haggadah. We must remember that people are generally quite, and this is very important. People can be hungry. And if people are hungry, they're not going to pay attention. All right. So you want to give this whole vort and idea and messages and things like that, but people are hungry. But we have to realize there's a long time. The Seder night is a long time, and the biggest part of the whole Seder experience is the dinner, is the meal. So you can always do in between the courses, between the egg course and the soup and the fish and the meat and the dessert. You got all these gaps. And then you can highlight or bring other ideas you can share at the table. So you don't have to do everything before the meal. You're allowed to share ideas during the Seder meal as well. So what we've done is I've gone and before Pesach photocopied different Haggadot. For example, if you can go, you can just Google it. Pictures of the 4 sons. How do different artists look at the 4 sons? And there's no right answers, no wrong answers. Just look at the different answers, and you'll see that there's some amazing. The artists over the centuries have viewed the 4 sons very differently. For example, the Chacham is always viewed traditionally as one who looks like a religious Jew, whereas the Rasha is a wicked, is a rebellious, who's gone away from the tradition, etc. And I've seen like a Bundes Haggadah where it was the other way around, where the Chacham was the communist and the Rasha was the religious Jew from the ghetto, the shtetl, because that was their guy. So yeah, it's a fascinating experiment or experience to look at how artists have portrayed the 4 sons, and that you can do a whole talk in its own right. Another thing that we've done, that I've done, and it's amazing, is to look at manuscript Haggadahs. So there are Haggadahs that go back over 1,000 years, and to look at the Haggadahs from this is the famous Sarajevo Haggadah, the Barcelona Haggadah. There's a famous one known as the bird Haggadah, where the Jews are portrayed as bird with beaks, because the goes against there's a discussion in the halacha is the second commandment, thou shalt have no other images before me, is that a 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional? So this particular artist in the bird Haggadah felt it was even a 2-dimensional human figure. So therefore he draws the Jews with beaks, and he draws the Egyptians face without any with faceless. So they've got the shape of the face but no eyes, isn't it? And you can have a whole discussion as what was the thinking of this artist. There's something called the Women's Haggadah from I think it's from Barcelona, or where the protagonists are all women. So instead of men sitting at the Seder, and this is done in like the 11th century or 12th century, you can just go online and Google it. It's fascinating to look at the artists. And one of the Haggadahs that I looked at from the early Middle Ages looked like it was the scenes from Robin Hood. So Pharaoh is so the artist drew Pharaoh as like the Robin Hood kings from the English kings, rather than Pharaoh like we look at Pharaoh. So that's so there's an amazing so that's just for an older crowd to look at the different types of how that's how art is portrayed within the Haggadah. Again, the most for me the most important part of the Seder is the timing, right? To know your audience. When I know there's this beautiful game that we like to play, and that is which is called "How late did your Seder finish?" All right, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. We were still going. We did like that famous Seder B'nai Brak with the rabbis when they were up there all night until Kriyat Shema Shel Shacharit. They learned all. That's how long our Seder was. I've heard of great rabbinic personalities who finished the whole Seder by midnight, because we got to finish eating by Chatzot. You have to finish drinking all the cups by midnight. So there's no mitzvah to go as late as possible. Right, so you need to judge your audience. Obviously, little people, and again, if you're feeling that it's dragging, so push up, go a bit quicker, and then once people have eaten something, they'll be more receptive to listening, and then the timing. Quizzes is always a good thing to have. So, for example, I will do the following questions. Personalities, like how many rabbis actually different rabbis appear in the Haggadah. Right, so that's not an answer you're going to know off, like that. But as you're reading through the Haggadah, you'll get your answer. How many times does Moses appear in the Haggadah? And if so, and if he does, how many times? And then you got to ask yourself, if Moses is, if you ask anyone who took the Jews out of Egypt, you'll say Moses. Why is Moses? Why can't you remember Moses being mentioned in the Haggadah? Why isn't he in the Haggadah? Why? How many plagues are mentioned in the Haggadah? All right. The answer is not 10. All right. So it's these little games that I like to play with the people at my Seder that keeps them engaged as we're going through the Seder to try and find the answers. I also like to look at different customs from different communities. And I try to bring them into, and if there's a great tradition, I'll bring them into our Seder as well. So for example, there's a wonderful Sephardi tradition, Iraqi tradition, where after Yachatz, that the child puts the matzah into the afikoman into a bag, and then carries it on his or her shoulder, and walks around the table. And everyone asks, where have you come from? They go, well, I came from Egypt. Where are you going to? I'm heading to the land of Israel. So there's this. There's again these little tricks to involve the kids. What to do with afikoman? Like who hides the afikoman? So there's two traditions. The one tradition is that the children snatch the afikoman from the leader of the Seder, the father hides it, and then the father has to find the afikoman. But most people have the other tradition where the father or the head of the household hides the afikoman, and the kids then have to go and search for the afikoman. Now, sometimes you're getting to 11, 12 o'clock at night, is tired, and the kids can't find the afikoman. How do you find it? So instead of playing hot and cold, I use the Hebrew expression a for afikoman. So we sing a for afikoman, which is where is the afikoman? And then as they get closer to the to finding it, you obviously start singing louder. If they're moving further away, you start singing softer. And that's just a nice way of first of all teaching them a Hebrew expression, a for where is, and just moving along, so that's not that we're not taking too long to get to afikoman. I also another thing that I like to do is I like to understand why we do what we do, and in essence, the Seder night is a night of questions and trying to research and ask the question: why do we do what we do? Why do we lean to the left? Why not to the right? Why do we? What are the two types of dipping that we do? What are the why do we have 4 cups of wine? Why isn't one go? Why wasn't 1 cup of wine sufficient, like we have it on a regular Shabbat or regular Yom Tov? Why we have to have 4 cups? What's the story with Elijah? Like, why? What's he doing there? Why do we want him at our Seder? What's he bringing? What's he announcing? Why is he announcing? So, there's all these questions as when we start looking at the Seder and what I'm trying to say is, don't approach the Seder this year as an adult. To approach the Seder, if this is the very first time you're seeing it, and therefore ask yourself, why are we doing this? And then try to find reasons. If you go to Gold's Bookshop, you'll see that there is probably a bookcase bigger than this of Haggadahs, different Haggadahs. And I have a tradition that every year I buy a new Haggadah with commentary. The reason being is that the Rasha, the wicked son from last year Haggadah, was so inspired by sitting at my Seder that they've now repented and are now he's become a chochem. He's now a chochem. So that Rasha doesn't exist anymore. So I need to buy a new Seder because they have to be the four sons. So I need to get a new Haggadah. And then every Haggadah has got a different. If you go, you'll find there whatever you're interested in. So he has one Haggadah called Torah Tavlin Haggadah, which has stories and sayings and information and some great stories. Rabbi Sachs' Haggadah is fantastic. He's got some wonderful essays on freedom and it really speaks to the generation. You got the Hasidic masters ones. You got the Rabbi Soloveitchik ones. You've got the Rav Kook ones. You've got every year there's new Haggadahs coming out with different perspectives, and it's just amazing that there's so much, that the Haggadah has so much. There's so many different Haggadot that have been printed. So again, buy yourself. I've told you on the one hand, make sure everyone's got the same Haggadah so that they can follow. Everyone can be on the same page, but also make sure that you've got different Haggadot so that people can have different answers. Last year, I bought Ori a Haggadah called the Emoji Haggadah. The whole Haggadah from Kadesh until Chad Gadya was just emojis. and he spent like the whole of Pesach trying to decipher the code. It was like reading hieroglyphics. We've gone back we left Egypt where we wrote in hieroglyphics. We now have emojis, which is modern day hieroglyphics. I've seen a Harry Potter Haggadah. I've seen a Seinfeld Haggadah using the ideas from Seinfeld and incorporating into the Haggadah narrative. So really, people come up with all these fascinating Haggadot. So knock yourself out. The other thing that is important is the songs. The songs play a very important role in the Haggadah. And so what I'll do when it comes to the Seder is, first of all, we have the traditional songs. I then ask people around the table, do they have any other songs? And then I ask them and then what I also do is we've incorporated over the years the different songs that the kids have learned. So the kids like Bang 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 with a Hammer when they learned it 3-year-olds in preschool, Puppy Cottage at preschool. That's in our Seder. The latest Maccabees parody song, that's in the Seder. And you find different times to incorporate these newer songs as well, because it just helps to advance the Seders. Again, you go online and you type in Pesach parody songs. There's tons. There's There's no Seder like my Seder. There's no Seder. I know everything about is halachic. There's all these there are all these different songs, and it's just a matter of finding them. The other thing that I like to do and play at the Seder is hand out prizes. Like if the kids get the answers right, especially in the first part, the Rambam writes you throw some nuts or some towards them. In today's modern age where people have got allergies, throw some lollies or something else if they get the answer right, and that just inspires everyone to participate. Another game you can play is like write names on a card, and then you stick it on your head. Like for example, I've got to work. So let's say the name is Pharaoh. I've got to try and work out who I am, and people they can answer yes or no. Like, am I in the Haggadah? Yes. Am I a good guy? Am I a good guy? No. Are you a bad guy? Yes. Am I the leader of? Am I Pharaoh? Yes. Well done. Next one. Am I a food? Yes. Whatever you can play. That's another thing. Everyone can have these names. So again, so to summarize, it's all about finding ways to engage with the people at my Seder, and to inspire and asking myself, what are the messages that I want to share with my family. The message I want to give over this year to the family, and this is a spoiler alert, is going back to the beginning when we spoke about the freedom versus slavery game. Like, what are the foods, and my message, the message I want to give to my family is that why is the matzah a symbol of freedom, a symbol of slavery? Is the charoset a symbol of freedom, a symbol of slavery? And then after the discussion, we realized that the honest truth is they actually got both compartments. And then when we went to Manish Tana and I said, the child's asking, what is it? Is the night of freedom? Is a night of it's highlighting the negatives or highlighting the positives? Are we free? Are we slavery? What is going on over here? And the answer to that is yes, it's both. And you say to yourself, how can I live with two experiences? How can I live with freedom and slavery, with the pain, with the joy and the pain? And the answer is that has been the Jewish narrative story throughout the generations. Just look what happened this year, January, February, when the hostages were being released. Think about how the joy that we experienced when the hostages were coming out. And at the same time, the pain that we're all feeling for the families whose loved ones were still trapped there, the 59 that are still trapped there. We celebrate the victory. We mourn the pain of the losses of the soldiers. Every experience that we had really is a combination of this bitter of the sweet. It's the famous song Al Kol Ele, the bitter and the sweet, the honey and the sting. Right? That is. That is a powerful message that the Haggadah wants to try teach us. And when we try to ask ourselves the question, how did we survive? The answer, and how do we get through this? Well, Seder night gives us the answer. If our ancestors got through that, we can get through this. Right? And that is the essence of that's the message. That's one of the messages I want to try and give over to my kids. So I've given you a lot of information. I hope that you can take these ideas and incorporate them into your Sedarim. And I'm thinking of some other new material for this year. I've got to do some research, do some work on that as well. But it's so exciting. It's so exciting. Seder night is so exciting, especially the sense of connecting with the generation, connecting with the generations. So the other thing that I'll finish off is I also try to involve the members of my family that are no longer here in my Seder. So because I just because when you're sitting at the table, and I think as adults we can feel this far more, and that is, on the one hand, I'm sitting at the Seder, I'm looking through the time machine, and I'm seeing my grandfather sitting at the Seder. And for those of you who are blessed with grandchildren, you're seeing your grandchildren, so you're seeing the grandchild sitting at the table in front of you. So you see, so literally, where you are sitting, you can see 5 generations of your family. And and we don't do this any other time of the year. That's what makes the Seder such a unique experience. So in our Seder, I had a late uncle. The moment he sat down at the Seder, the first thing he would sing was Chad Gadya. Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. So that was the joke. Everyone let's finish already. Right? And but since he's passed, that's how we start our Seder. Chad Gadya, Chad. Remember that? And my kids will go, "Who are you talking? Well, who are you starting with Chad Gadya?" I said, "Because I had an uncle Brian who used to sing like that." And then one of my cousins said to me, she had I was leading the Seder at our family from about 10 years old. And then I always loved the Seder. I was always getting Haggadah. So I would walk here. She remembers me walking in to the Seder night to sit down with about a pile of books this big. And she was little. I think she was 6, 7, going, "Oh my gosh, we're going to be here all night waiting for for my cousin to read through all these books." And she says that's a memory that she has of sitting at my parents' Seder with all those books around me. Like, what are all those books? What's going on? So I created a memory for her without even realizing it while I'm doing my own thing. And that's in essence what we try to do. We Seder night, we create memories for the future generation. We sing songs. If you've got a song that your grandfather sang that you remember, sing it, share it with the table, because that keeps those songs alive. The Luan's got a very interesting tune for Kilo Nae. We've been singing it from the Germany days, and that continues 100 and something years later. We're still singing that tune. That's what makes that. That's the power of Seder night. So I wish you all a Chag Kasher v'Sameach. Make your Seders meaningful, inspire for yourselves and for your families. All right, so we'll stop the recording and open the floor for questions.
Rabbi, can I ask? Can I make a comment?